Madonna was abandoned by the one person who should have loved her unconditionally.
You know, losing my mother at a very young age, a devastating experience, and I really did feel completely abandoned at that point in my life, and I'm sure that that has been
When she was just 5 years old, and that betrayal shaped every controversial move she's made since. But here's what'll blow your mind. The woman who built an empire shocking the world was actually trying to disappear for half her life. On December 1st, 1963, Madonna's mother died of breast cancer. Madonna was 5. Her father completely shut down emotionally. For months, little Madonna would wake up crying for her mother, and her father couldn't even look at her. She lost both parents that day. The house became 6 neglected kids raising themselves. Madonna learned the only way to get attention was to be louder, bolder, more outrageous than her siblings. Sound familiar? When her father remarried their housekeeper 3 years later, Madonna felt replaced entirely. The woman helping their family heal became the person who stole her father's remaining love. That 8-year-old made a decision that defined everything. If she couldn't be loved, she'd make damn sure she was never ignored. Everyone thinks Madonna burst onto the scene confident and rebellious. The truth? She spent her teenage years trying to disappear. At Rochester Adams High School, Madonna was known for one thing: straight A's. While other kids partied, she obsessed over perfect grades because academic achievement was the only way to get positive attention from her emotionally distant father. She was voted homecoming queen but considered not showing up because she was terrified of being the center of attention. The girl who'd later command stadiums of 100,000 was having panic attacks about walking across a high school gym. The turning point came senior year when she discovered dance. Not as a hobby, as an escape. In the dance studio, she could express all the rage, pain, and ambition she'd been suffocating under good grades. Her dance teacher, Christopher Flynn, was the first adult who saw through her perfect student act. He looked at this intense teenager and said something that changed her life. "You're too talented to waste away in Michigan." In 1977, 19-year-old Madonna took a Greyhound to New York with $35. She almost went back to Michigan within the first month. Living in a 4th-floor walk-up with no heat, working at Dunkin' Donuts for minimum wage, getting rejected at every audition, Madonna was writing letters home begging for money to come back. She was counting quarters to buy ramen. The breaking point? She was sexually assaulted at knife point on a rooftop in her neighborhood. Most people would have been on the next bus home. But Madonna did something that revealed the steel core she'd been building since childhood. She refused to let New York break her. Instead of running, she got angrier. She started studying every successful woman in music, analyzing what made them marketable, memorable, and most importantly, untouchable. She wasn't just trying to become famous anymore. She was strategically building an armor of controversy that would make her impossible to ignore or destroy. Remember how I said she was trying to disappear for half her life? Here's the secret even her closest friends didn't know until decades later. Every controversial move Madonna made, like a virgin, the cone bra, the sex book, kissing Britney, was completely calculated. She was waging psychological warfare against a world that taught her she was disposable. In her private journals, which surfaced during a legal battle in the 2000s, Madonna had written detailed plans for each era of her career, including how she would shock them into never forgetting me and make them need me more than I need them. The woman who seemed to love controversy was actually using scandal as protection. Every time the public thought they figured her out, she'd completely reinvent herself. No one could abandon her again because they could never truly know her. This survival strategy came with a devastating cost she's still paying today. Madonna's strategy worked too well. By the 1990s, she was the most famous woman in the world, but completely isolated. Her relationships became battlegrounds where partners either worshipped her fame or tried to control it. Sean Penn couldn't handle being Mr. Madonna. Their marriage became a public spectacle of fights and paparazzi chases. What people didn't see was Madonna crying alone in hotel rooms, wondering if anyone would ever love her without the fame. Carlos Leon, father of her daughter Lourdes, revealed that Madonna would wake up panicking, convinced everyone she cared about would eventually leave her. The little girl who lost her mother was still terrified of abandonment at the height of her power. Then came Guy Ritchie, which should have been her fairy tale. A successful director not intimidated by her fame, a move to London for quieter life, the promise of being loved for who she was beneath the persona. Instead, Ritchie tried to strip away everything that made Madonna who she was. He discouraged her music career, criticized her American vulgarity, essentially asked her to disappear into being just his wife. The divorce was brutal, but here's what really broke Madonna. Even when she tried to be vulnerable and real, she was still being asked to become invisible.
Yeah, I'm 50. That's what I'm going to say when I turn 50. Sorry. Bleep.
At 50, when most pop stars are fading into nostalgia tours, Madonna did something that shocked even her harshest critics. She stopped trying to be loved and started demanding respect. The MDNA era was about a woman finally embracing the power she'd been afraid to claim. Instead of apologizing for aging in the spotlight, she turned her experience into a weapon against industry ageism. When critics called her desperate for continuing to push boundaries, she responded by pushing even harder. The woman who'd spent decades being calculated finally became truly fearless. But here's where the real transformation happened. Madonna started using her platform for causes that connected to her deepest wounds, her work with orphans in Malawi. She knew what abandonment felt like and was making sure other children never experienced that pain. She adopted David, Mercy James, and the twins. This was her way of healing that 5-year-old who never understood why her mother left. Today, Madonna's 65 and finally comfortable with something that terrified her for decades, being seen as human. In recent interviews, she's talked openly about loneliness, the exhaustion of being a symbol instead of a person, and the little girl inside who still sometimes wakes up afraid that everyone she loves will disappear. Her relationship with her children is her greatest triumph. For the first time in her life, she's loving someone without needing to perform for that love. Her daughter Lorde says that at home, Madonna is just mom, making breakfast and worrying about curfews.
So they don't really?
In the 40 years that I've been doing what I've been doing.
40 years.
40 years, can you believe it?
No.
The woman who spent 40 years proving she couldn't be ignored finally learned something more powerful. She doesn't need to be loved by everyone because she's learned to love herself. Madonna's real revolution wasn't sexual liberation or religious controversy.
It was just broke and wondering if things were ever going to work out for me.
It was showing the world that a woman could be abandoned, broken, discarded, and still rebuild herself into something unstoppable. Every female artist who refuses to disappear gracefully, who demands to be heard past their expiration date, who uses their pain as fuel instead of letting it destroy them, they're walking the path Madonna carved with her bare hands. The 5-year-old who lost her mother became the woman who taught generations of daughters they never have to make themselves smaller to make others comfortable. Which part of Madonna's real story shocked you the most? The calculated rebellion, the invisible teenage years, or the fact that everything she did was healing a 5-year-old's broken heart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If this deep dive into the Queen of Pop's hidden truth hit you, smash that like button and subscribe because next week, I'm revealing the devastating secret that nearly destroyed Prince's career before it even started. You're not ready for what I uncovered.